Welcome to the Second Time Around podcast with LaShawn and Makela Mims, a weekly conversation about love, life, and marriage from the perspective of a couple who are taking the journey a second time around.
But I thank God in all I lost, I found you. As I give you this ring, just know you're my greatest blessing. All the good and the bad will make this love true.
Hey, family. Thank you so much for coming in. This is the Second Time Around podcast. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I am your co-host, LaShawn Mims. You know it. I am a husband.
Yes.
A father.
Yes.
A son.
Yes.
I'm a friend.
Yes.
And guess what I do? I am a pastor.
Yes.
Yes, of a wonderful church called Judah Fellowship Church in Elk Grove, California.
Yes.
But I am not alone. I have my partner in crime, my ride or die. It is my wife, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Go ahead, wife.
Hey, family. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your other host, Makela Mims. I am a wife, a mama, a Mimi, and I am also the leading lady of Judah Fellowship Church in Elk Grove, California, and I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist.
That's right. She got papers.
Uh-oh.
She got papers with this thing. I did not tell you that I am a papa. Yes, I am a grandfather.
He is a papa.
I got to stop. You know what? I love
leaving
these
my babies
grandkids.
out.
Yeah, I can't stop.
You better hope they don't go back and listen to these when they get to be teenagers, because they're going to be like, Papa, you left me out.
Yeah, I definitely don't. Definitely don't. I don't want to leave them out because they are my world.
You're going to have to buy a real truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
No. Let me tell a story, y'all. We went to, it was my baby's birthday, my grandson's birthday, and I had a bag with an action figure in it for him. So excited. And he saw the bag and he was happy. And then Papa walks in behind me and he's got this radio control monster truck. When I tell you that boy threw that bag and was like, Papa, I was like, oh, okay, Mimi just going to take her bag and going to sit down over here somewhere. That's all right. She gonna
It was the best feeling in the world. It was the best
He was so
feeling
excited.
of the world. My grandson
He's so cute.
is a mini comedian.
Yes.
Because I think he gets it from his pop.
He does.
But he is hilarious. Just like we laugh all day, me and him.
Love that guy.
But let me tell
baby.
you something about this second time around. This is
Yeah.
where we talk about life,
Love,
family, the second time
around.
Yes. This episode is going to be a continuation, and it is episode number 4. Episode number 4 is a continuation of this young lady here, Miss Makela, telling her origin story.
Yes.
She is telling us about her history. Where's she from? Where your people from? What you do? Where you been from? We have figured that you need to know about us before you know about this relationship.
Yeah.
Because before us, you got to know.
That part.
So I thought we would talk to Miss Makela today and ask her some things about her life before me.
That's what our granddaughter does, y'all. She does, ooh.
And we left off last time talking about your father.
My dad.
Yeah, your dad. Your dad and what were some of the gems that he deposited into your life. If you are with us for the first time, Makela has talked about her father, talked about maybe some absence of her father, some different things that may not have been what we consider to be traditional. So you shared some things in the previous episode, but we want you to share some more. Sure. What have been some other gems?
You know, I was sitting here as you were speaking, hon, and I was thinking about, so my dad actually taught me a lot about food, and I'll explain that. Man, I remember he took me to have my first lobster at a place called Lair's Greenhouse in San Francisco. And it literally was a greenhouse. So I have a love of plants, but he taught me about dining and setting up a table properly. And this may not, be a big deal to some people, but to me, I really like etiquette. And so he taught me a lot about that. My father also was a banquet server. And so he
went to each banquet and he dined, right? He just...
Well, when he would eat though, but that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. What I meant was my dad was the server. No.
Okay.
My dad, he loved, what? And my dad really did genuinely love his son-in-law. And so here's the funny thing. My dad was that guy who carried the big platter, the guys that wore very neatly pressed black and white to serve, and they would have the napkin over their arm and things like that. So that was the kind of management my dad did. And so he would from time to time have positions where he would be in charge of entire banquet halls at big hotels in San Francisco. And so I think I got a little bit of, dare I say, snooty bootiness from him. Y'all missed it. Sean just rolled his eyes at me. But
what is snooty booty?
Uppity, like sedity.
That sounds like something like Bootsy or something. Bootsy Collins or something.
What? It might
snooty booty. What is that? What is that?
It might be a little bootsy. I don't know.
I'm just want to snow that booty.
My goodness. I can't believe this has gone off the rails. Okay, wait.
Wrong with
Let's bring that back. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll use the word sedity, right? Or stuck up, right? So I got a little bit of that because my dad was... Man, he was smooth. I'm telling you. And so
it's like Parliament or something, huh? It's like it makes me think of like Parliament or some kind of, confunction or something. Snooty booty.
Oh my goodness. Here you go.
Well, it's stuck in my head now.
I see. Okay, so we're going to bring this back to center.
Come on. Jesus.
Yeah, get it together. Get your mind right. And so my dad left that with me. He was a lover of VW bugs, like the old school bugs, the kind where the reverse was in the wrong place. And so, right, the reverse was up and to the right instead of down and to the right in most manual cars. And so he taught me how to drive a stick shift. And my daddy told me, if you cannot drive a stick shift, you cannot drive, period. Now he always took it to another level, and he would say, what if you go out with one of your friends and they have a little too much and they got a stick shift and you can't drive, you're gonna be stuck. So he made sure that I knew I was terrible at it. Now y'all, we from San Francisco, so you can imagine the hills and things like that, and not just a stick shift but a bug. I'm talking like a 68 bug, craziest thing you ever want to try to do. I was stuck on several hills. Anywho, that was definitely a gem my dad left me. And I think to be nice was something else I got, because my dad would always be very nice to people. We would go places and he just had a really good way of speaking to people. And so I think I took that away. That was a gem for me from my dad. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So, mom, gems, dad, gems.
Are you like running through the checklist?
Yeah. No, I'm thinking it over, because you had a sister that lived with you.
I did.
And what was that relationship, right? What is that relationship like?
Ooh. Yeah. High cotton.
High cotton?
My parents are from the Southwest.
Okay, so I'm thinking of like a lot of different things. She said high cotton. I thought about high karate. That's, where am I from? The 70s. That's where I was born. But it was like,
Jesus, what is going on
high cotton,
here?
high karate. I didn't really get that. But okay. I know you have to be, you got to be like a 70s kid to
get that.
That was some funky smelling stuff.
Oh my God. Why are we talking about high karate? You are hilarious. You're right. That was right up there with Old Spice. But anyway.
Yeah.
that was bad. And what was it? Gina Tay?
That was like simple gifts, huh? You know.
Right, from Walgreens?
Yeah. Can I get a scoop of Rocky Road and some Gina Tay? You wanted to, you were doing stuff. Yeah, that's Thrifties, but you can get it from Thrifties. You know.
Y'all, I don't know what is happening here.
You used to on holidays, like Christmas, how people couldn't figure out what they were going to get you for Christmas. That's the stuff you would get, like.
Oh, God, the kind that was on the circular thing.
Yeah,
right by
the gift set.
Oh, God.
Getting stuff like Adidas cologne. Adidas don't make cologne. What is this?
Oh, Lord.
No.
What is happening with this podcast?
Somebody, we're coming back in a minute. We're coming back on subject in a minute. But I remember somebody said,
oh, my goodness.
They gave me some, like anybody.
Don't go there.
Anybody who knows me, I have this certain designer that I wear all the time, ever since I've been a kid.
Help me.
And the designer has this man on a horse, and he has a croquet stick. And so...
It's a mallet.
Okay, see? There it goes. There she's like correcting me again. Anyway, a mallet or whatever. But it's so the person gave me this thing saying, hey, you like this designer? I got some cologne. And I was like, that don't say that. That say Olo. What is that? Olo. What is Olo?
Okay, I think we need to get back.
Huh? What is Olo?
Oh, my goodness. It's not what you wear.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not your thing. Fix your face, hon.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I'll be back.
And now we're back.
Okay.
All right. Come on.
Okay. What you asked me about my sister?
About your sister.
Okay.
What has that relationship been like?
So my sister is almost 5 years older than me, the one that grew up in the home with me. And she was a superstar basketball player. Mm-hmm. Superstar. And like her thing was to shoot free throws. Like I guess it was Rick Barry who kind of threw
underhand?
Yeah.
Underhand free throws.
And that's how she shoot her free throws. And that's one of the things I remember. So I remember that about her. Loved basketball. She was so good that she was actually going to go and play for Georgetown.
Okay.
Oh, yes. But some things happened and she wasn't able to do that. But she really was just that good. And she also played the saxophone and was really, really good at the saxophone. And she wanted to be an attorney and study political science. So I wanted to do everything that she did. Okay. To the point where when I went to college the first time, I majored in political science. No ma'am, no ham. That was the worst decision ever.
Folks, that was my major when I first started college for the first time.
Ooh, right.
Right?
A lot of second times, huh?
Yeah. There's a lot of second time arounds. It's very fitting.
Yeah. That poli-sci is no joke.
I think the first day of class, I was like...
My head hurt.
No.
I had no desire.
Yeah.
I had no desire to do that. But I share that piece because I so wanted to be like her because my sister was super smart. Mm-hmm. Like she was that kid that was reading chapter books at age 4. My sister was so smart that they skipped her from kindergarten to the 2nd grade because she kept getting in trouble because she was bored. And so they skipped her. And she now has multiple degrees and she writes poetry and she just is this very talented, gifted person. She also super scrappy. Okay. And very protective of me. And I think that growing up with her, we weren't always on the same page. Like I am a girly girl. Nails did, hair did, everything did. That's me always. I want, Liz Claiborne. That was who I'm showing my age. Liz Claiborne came out with perfume. I had to have it. Liz had a purse, had to have it. Right. So I'm a super, really, really prissy kind of person. And that wasn't her style because she was not that way. I think that she did everything she could to help me be the way that I wanted to be. And so I can remember, I think one of my fondest memories of her was she would comb my hair and she would put my hair in all these little different braids, and she would put the little knockers at the end because I wanted to go to school and play tetherball. And when I swoosh my head to the side, I wanted my hair to go with me because all the other little girls' hair moved and my hair didn't move. So she combed my hair, heavy-handed, what she was. But my head would be throbbing, but it would be cute. And she would do that. So she would do stuff like that. And she read a lot. And that's where I think I got a love of reading, because she read a lot. And she, now, here's the thing. She could beat me up, but couldn't nobody else beat me up. And so I can remember I got in trouble one time because I said something, did something, and my sister went and beat up somebody for me, and my mother beat me up. Well, she didn't beat me up, but she let me have it. I was, I was prissy, y'all. I'm telling you, all she had to do was take the phone away, and I would just crumble. Just, no social life? Oh, clutch my pearls. Perish the thought. No social life. And so, but my sister was very, very protective of me, but we were very different people. I was social, she wasn't. And she was a real athlete. I faked the funk, except for swimming and volleyball. Those were my things. But everything else, I tried to play basketball, but I didn't know nothing about where to take the ball out. I didn't know nothing about basketball, but she was really, really good. So we had our ups and downs. And I think throughout the course of our lives together, we've had our ups and downs. But, if I don't know anything else, I know that she cares very deeply for me.
That's good. That's good. That's something good. So,
yes,
with your history of mom and history of dad and sisters and the absence of, I guess, grandparents, so to speak, what do you think has been your view of relationship with that? When you take account of all the things that have gone into you, what do you think these people have brought to your relationship life?
That's an interesting question, because my mom had relationships, and my mom was married a few times, literally 3 times. And so I think that love and relationship were important to her. I'm just not sure she knew how to do it. And similar, my dad was married multiple times. And I think that relationship was important to him for a very different reason. But I do think that, again, I learned a lesson that was good in one respect and not good in another respect. And so I think the good thing that I took away from watching both of them was that you are lovable. You can be loved. Every person can be loved. The thing that I took away that I think maybe wasn't so helpful or healthy was you got to love you first before somebody else can love you. And you can't depend on someone else to make you happy. You have to be happy and whole yourself in order to be happy, whole, and healthy with another person. And it took me a little while to really learn that and internalize it and use it, because for a lot of years, it was just about who can love me. For me, am I worth loving? Am I valuable enough to love for one person to love me? And so I think that those were, again, another situation where it was both, there's 2 sides to a coin. So one side was really healthy. Yes, you are lovable. And the other side was not so healthy. And you need to be together first before you seek relationship with somebody else.
Yeah. Good. That sounds really, yeah. I think that a lot of people, I don't want to say suffer, but a lot of people struggle with that, struggle with the part of receiving love or being taught about love in a broken way. I think we touched on this earlier about Many times your parents would say, I can only do what I know how to do.
Right.
And many times being broken themselves, trying to teach you how to be whole.
Exactly.
And it doesn't always come across like that. You know, I want you to be whole, but I'm coming from a broken place.
That's so interesting that you say that, because my mother's mother, my grandmother, who I never had the privilege of meeting, also was married at least twice that I know of. And not so sure about my dad, because again, I didn't have a lot of that. I didn't get that part of his family, but I do know that my grandmother was married a couple of times. And it's interesting because my mother's siblings, my mom is one of 6, so large family, and each of them married, I think except for the youngest, multiple times, or in serious relationships multiple times. And so I think that I really wanted to break that cycle. I really wanted to break that pattern. So this is where I say our lives are in stark contrast to one another in terms of what we saw. And so I really wanted to, like, I had that pie in the sky type of thing. I wanted to be married, and like that's all I ever really wanted to do was be married and be a mama, right? Like I wanted the house and the white picket fence and 2.5 kids and a dog. And I'm not really sure how you have 0.5 of a kid, but I don't really know. Maybe that's the age. But that's what I wanted. That's all I ever really, really wanted to do. And I think the interesting thing these days is that we make that a bad thing. Like if you aspire to be a wife and a mother, like that's not enough. And to me, it was all I ever really wanted. So I got lost for a long time in trying to achieve that. And so because I was trying to achieve that, I think that I probably stunted my own growth in terms of career and things like that. But, you know, God does everything in his own time. And
right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, but I really think that that's something that I always really wanted. And to me, that was what was valuable. That was the foundation of everything else. So I felt like marriage and children, everything else came from that. And because I didn't have that, and the people that I saw around me that did come from that seemed to have happy lives. So that was the life that I wanted also. So yeah, it's interesting. But my family didn't come from that. Parts of my family did. We had some cousins and things like that that were married for a very, very long time. But like that whole, from the I do to the, you know, rest in peace, not very many examples of that for me.
In touching a little bit of where I came from, having, and I said this in an earlier episode, is that having so much success, seeing success of relationships, seeing longevity and different things like that cause you to take it for granted, so to speak. You tend to think that, well, it's easy. That's what we do. And then you try to overcompensate it.
Interesting.
You try to overproduce it. Well, because grandma and grandpa were together, because mom and dad were together, because aunt and uncle were together, because I seen relationships and I don't really know how relationships work.
Right.
It's a given
that
whoever I meet, I don't have to put that much effort into it because we're just going to get along just like mom and dad gets along.
Right, because this is what I know.
Yeah, this is what I know. But then when you hear a story, or you hear, as we're talking about origin, when you hear the origin story of somebody else that doesn't come from where you come from, what do you do then?
Right.
What do you do?
Right.
When two-parent household is not what somebody else is going through, they're going through a single-parent household.
Right. And I think you also tend in that situation to try to overcompensate as well, because you try to do what you think you know versus what you've been taught and what you know to be true. And I think that for me, I was going to be like the perfect wife. I was going to be, that was the myth that I created in my mind, not having ever really seen it. And I really want people to walk away knowing that, my mother and father were not bad people. They just were people that came from different places. And I think each of them in their own way came from a level of brokenness. And I mean, you're talking about two people that came from kind of the South, but not really the South, because they were, from my mom from Oklahoma and my dad from Texas, but a lot of Jim Crow when they grew up. My mom came to California. I don't really know what age she was, but I do know she went to high school. She went to Poly High School in San Francisco. And so I do know that she went to high school here, but she grew up in Oklahoma, right? And so I think it's important to also remember like what people go through and how that leaves an impression on them. You just don't know what you don't know. And then here's the other thing about that. I mean, just because you do know it, that doesn't mean you're the best at it, right? And so I think that when I look back at my own family and the different dynamics and, multiple marriages that my father had and multiple marriages that my mother had, one of which my mom was married. I wasn't even here yet, but I think it's important to know that, we're all just human and we really are just trying to do the best we can. And so I don't begrudge my parents that, because I really, at this age in my life, I can really, with age comes wisdom, we pray. I can look back on it and say, you really did the best that you knew how to do. And there's value in that. And I appreciate it. But yeah, I think that I tried to over wife, if that's a thing, kind of like, they have helicopter parents, that they hover over their kids. I think I probably was, and from time to time can still be a little bit of a helicopter wife, but I think I'm still a work in progress, right? Because I'm still working on, I want to be a great wife for you. Mm-hmm. And yet I think sometimes a little bit of the residue of being the perfect wife is still there.
I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I also want to echo what you just said about that, is that we overcompensate. I think one of the things that, coming from the background that I came from, is that I'm trying to do what I saw work. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to duplicate the formula.
Right.
Where you say, I'm trying to do the opposite, or I have this idea of what it's supposed to be like. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm seeing this idea of what it's supposed to be like. Mm-hmm. And I should have the skills and the graces to duplicate it.
Right.
Because it's in my DNA. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to duplicate it. So when my dad said, my dinner should be on the table at 6:00 and I should be able to put my feet up on the coffee table, well, that's what Sean's going to do. And, that don't work for me. Wait a minute. That don't. You not Linda. Okay. I get it. So I think that in the Origin episodes, what we have tried to talk about is coming from different places, coming together.
Yes.
You got a young man going into marriage, going into dating. Let's start with that. Going into dating with this idea that everything is supposed to come together without little effort. Mm-hmm. You have this idea of a young woman going into it, and it's like, I've seen the worst of this, and I'm just going to come in, and I figure if I be this way,
right,
it'll all work out for me.
Exactly.
Right. So
spot on.
That's how I believe we've come into, when we talk about going into relationships and going into marriage, with this, I want to say, slanted view, a view that doesn't quite make sense.
Skewed.
Yeah, there we go. That's the word. See, she's so good at words.
That's $20. That's $15.
Yeah. No, that's a $50 word right there.
Just 50, 05.
Skewed. Yeah, that's 50. That's just a straight 50.
Okay, at least I'm going up in value.
You're going up in value. Yeah, so that is what makes up a relationship. That's what puts that thought in our heads that, you know what? For all the people that I saw that didn't make it, I'm going to make it.
Right.
For everybody that I saw make it, I'm going to continue to make it.
Mm-hmm.
My child is, and I think we come from a legacy of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reaching all the way back to slavery.
Absolutely.
Of coming to this country, this nation, of people saying it's not going to be like it was for my mama or for my grandmother.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to be in this situation. We're not going to be separated as a family. We're always going to be able to have this.
That's deep.
Yeah, it is very deep. It is very, very deep, and that's
You're getting into epigenetics there, sir.
Oh, thank you for giving me a definition to it.
Yes. About what's in our DNA.
Yes,
based on what our experience has been.
Right, right. So we want our
to
listeners.
School. Did we not go to school?
We did go to school.
Right then,
we want our listeners to understand that it's just not by happenstance.
Correct.
That certain things happen. I know we want to, many times, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that we said, that we could be the issue.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And
Very
it's taken
true.
a while. It's taken a while to come to that the second time around.
That's
to
it.
be able to say, you know what? This ain't all about Mr. X, or this ain't all about Mrs. Y. This is about me.
Yes.
And I think that's a little bit a piece of the pie of what this podcast is about, is really looking in the mirror and saying, what do I own?
Yes.
Even in my repair, what pieces do I have? I think I had a Facebook post, I think about a day ago, and I said in the Facebook post, I went to the Bible scripture in 2 Kings, where it talks about the prophet going to the woman's home and asking her, what do you have? First of all, what do you want?
Yes.
And then what do you have in your house? And the lady saying, I don't have anything in my house. All I have is a little bit of oil. So,
And a little bit of meal.
And so that is the question. What do you have? You have to be able to work with what's in your house.
Come on, sir. Love it.
Yeah. You have to be able to, it's in your house.
It is.
So you have to be able to work with the things in your house. And sometimes we don't like the things that are in our house. We don't like the things that we are left to work with. Yeah. So
That was good.
I've enjoyed listening to you,
Thank
Miss
you.
Makela,
Thank
my wife here.
Yeah, that's me.
I found some things out that maybe I may have known, but I didn't know them to the extent that you explained them. And I've also been able to see some things a little differently that have to do with you.
Yep.
It's always good to find out about you.
I think so.
I think so.
I like
also,
finding out about you. Baby,
Yeah.
tell them where they can send their questions.
They
or
can send your questions, your
victory
requests.
stories.
Yes, your victory stories, or we call them, we want to take it back to the old school, we'll call them testimonies. But they can be victory stories. Yeah. Coming in a Honda, leaving in a Chevy. But
Oh my goodness.
yes, Lord. So
What's the email address, man?
The email address is the number 2,
Yes.
the letter X. at judahinthegrove.com. You know that 2 stands for second and the X stands for time. So it's second time at judahinthegrove.com. We love you. We appreciate spending this time with you. We appreciate you downloading this podcast and also subscribing to this podcast where you can subscribe to it. We're going to see you next time.
Yes.
We want you to.
We are so grateful that you hung out with us for a little while. We wish you happiness, health, and we wish you would thrive above all else. We appreciate you. Be well.
Be well.
Thank you for joining us this week. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you in our next episode.